let's chat about some mummies. I might get some corn nuts, but we'll see. We'll do a brief overview of what TT320 is. We are doing a discussion stream, so we're just about to start the discussion. We just decorated our Christmas tree because it's Christmas, even though Thanksgiving was just a couple days ago. But we are going to be talking about TT320, which is a ancient Egyptian royal cache tomb, and specifically we're going to look at the ancient Egyptian mummies from the 18th dynasty that were found in that space. So no video games tonight, but plenty of other fun things. Sorry, I gotta drink some water. My throat hurts. Technically not December for a couple more hours here, but we'll see. I told myself that I can finish the podcast, because I haven't written the podcast for December. If I can finish the December podcast and record it tomorrow, then I'm allowed to put up my actual Christmas tree. If not, I have to wait. I have to get that done tomorrow. That's kind of the big thing. So yeah, for those who don't know about TT320 or DB320, it is a royal cache tomb, which essentially means that during the Third Intermediate period, priests went into the Valley of the Kings and they discovered, hey, there's a lot of mummies and tombs that are totally open to the elements and looted. And a lot of these are pharaohs. And so they decided to take all of these mummies, rewrap them, label them, put them back in coffins, and then place them all in 2 distinct tombs. There is one in the Valley of the Kings, and then there is this one which is just outside the Valley of the Kings in Deir al-Bahri, kind of in the mountains above Hatshepsut's mortuary temple. So we've gone through a lot of the mummies. Here you can see the entrance. Do I not have internet? What's going on? These photos are loading so slow. This is the entrance of the royal cache, and this is sort of where the tomb is. So here is Deir al-Bahri. Here we have Hatshepsut's temple. You've got Thutmose III's squeezed in there, and then you have Mentuhotep II's on this side. A shadow gobbler? What book did I send you, Darius? I have never heard of it. Oh wait, I have Myth and Magic. Where is that book? Myth and Magic I'm trying to think of what section that would be in my library. I'm gonna be so honest, I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard that before. It's in the introduction. Let me see, where's that book? I can find it. Except it's probably over here. What the heck? Oh. Okay. I found it. A shadow gobbler. I definitely need to read that. What page is it on? Page 13. This is lovely when I have the book that you guys are talking about, because I sent you the book because I already had it. Shadow and its name. A demon known as the shadow gobbler. In the ancient Egyptian concept of human existence, there were 2 other elements whose survival was essential. An individual was inseparable from his or her shadow, which mirrored every movement, although it was obviously incapable of any act of its own. What the heck was that? Did something fall over? No? Okay. If anyone behaved badly, there was a potential threat of their shadow being devoured by a demon known as the shadow gobbler. To deprive a living human being of a shadow was to deprive them of existence itself. Huh. I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard of a shadow gobbler, but I know it's part of your soul, so. Might not be able to. Oh, Tuttenstein. There is something called the Shadow Gobbler in Tuttenstein, in the show Tuttenstein. Oh my god, that's really funny. Do they have a photo of it? I don't think they do. That's really funny. I'm trying to think of what else I could, because where is it? Shuit is a shadow. So it's obviously, it's a demon, which a lot of demons have, some have names and some don't. See, these are, I did a whole video on demons, and what is this? Egypt bandwidth? What the fuck? The problem is they're just giving Amit, but it honestly might be Amit, because I forgot Amit's name literally means the devourer. Yeah, so Amit. Yeah. So Amit probably is what it means, because they will eat the heart. Its name is literally devourer or soul eater. So that's definitely probably what they're referring to, but there are so many ancient Egyptian demons, and I don't know if anybody has really ever written them all down, to be honest. There was an article here that, what did it say? It said this one. Susanna Bennett recently studied more than 400 demons described in Middle Kingdom coffin texts. This is like, Archaeology Magazine has like the tiniest little articles that make no sense whatsoever. Hi, Maddie. We actually just put your ornament up on the tree. Maybe. Yeah, it also might be Apophis or Apep, but I think it's probably Amit, because Amit is more like, Apophis is in the afterlife, but he's not sort of as prominent in the afterlife as Amit is. Yeah, Maddie. This was probably from years ago. Essentially, anybody that donated or did anything, I wrote your name on an ornament, so you're one of the blue ones. I just don't know which one. But it's probably from like 2 to 3 years ago. I don't know how long I can't remember how long you've been following, but I know it's been a while. I don't know who Puripus is. Why is only a musical group coming up? Oh, okay. Oh. He could be associated with Min. I don't know if I don't like to compare Greek and what's it called? Egyptian deities. This says that he is described as the son of Aphrodite and Dionysus by Dionysus. So I don't like totally. I do know this guy because I've seen this picture of him in Pompeii. But yeah, I forgot about him. But yeah, we're getting back to what we were saying. Talking about TT320 on sidetrack because of Devourer of Souls, or Devourer of Shadows, which is very interesting. Melissa needs to read some of these books. No, absolutely. Derail it. No, it was a good question because that honestly is super interesting and I've never noticed that before. The sad part about this is like this is a good book, but it doesn't have, I think, references, unfortunately. It has sources, or no, it has suggested reading, but it doesn't have any sources. Oh, whoa, it has a... In the very back, it has a mummy fact file, which is a whole list of all these museums that have mummies. I should double check this with my list. And it actually has all the number of mummies. That's so interesting. Yeah, we can try some of that. I think it's probably a specific demon. Ancient Egyptian demons, there's one article that I had that I did a video with that talked about ancient Egyptian demons, but unfortunately I don't know of any like concrete list of all the names of demons because I don't think they don't have to be named, sort of, if that makes sense. So we're just doing a little recap of what DB320 is, and then we will start looking at some of the mummies, particularly in the 18th dynasty. So, a shit ton of mummies. Over 50 mummies were found in this tomb. It was originally discovered, as you can see from this one, it was discovered most likely by the Abd Rasul family, who continuously took pieces out of it and sold it on the black market before archaeologists could discover it and by 1890. So there are objects that left it. It is actually presumed that the mummy of Ramses I was found here and was the only mummy that was illegally excavated and exported. Well, it wasn't necessarily illegal by that time, but nonetheless. A lot of these mummies are ranging from the 17th, 18th, 19th, and I think 20th and 21st dynasties. We gotta look, but I'm pretty sure they are kind of a mixture, and there are quite a few. So most of these mummies are in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, but not all of them are on display. So we went through these some of these 17th dynasty mummies, and then we're going to start with the beginning of the 18th dynasty with Ahmose I. So I get most of our information from this website, which is so old and so it's not saying it's outdated, but I don't think it's been updated in literally years. But this is the Theban Royal Mummy Project by William Max Miller. And you can see all the, I wonder, project updates. When has this last been updated? Anyone know? Anyone know? What does the bottom of the website says? Doesn't even say. But it's been online since 2000, so it could be 25 years old. But we're gonna start with the 18th dynasty pharaohs. So we have Ahmose or Ahmose the First. I'm gonna get some coordinates while we do this, so I can snap a little bit. These mummies range from in being in really, really good shape into really bad shape, to be honest. So there is quite a range of kind of how they look and what their preservation was like. This is my last bag of coordinates because I haven't gone to the store. Oop. Oop. I'm gonna go to the store tomorrow and get more. A little bit stale. That's okay. So, for those who don't know how the end of the 17th dynasty into the 18th dynasty works out, we have the separation of north and south between the Theban kings in the south, Theban Egyptian kings in the south, and the Hyksos pharaohs or Hyksos people in the north, living out of the delta. And there's a very distinct difference between like the cultures that are going on, and it's unclear which one wanted to conquer the other, but it's kind of obvious to me that it was probably the Egyptians. Senkeneri Tau was the pharaoh at that time. He dies in battle or in some sort of conflict. And then his next son is named Kamos. He also dies, probably in some of the conflict. And then we have Amos, who is eventually going to be able to conquer the Hyksos and unite Egypt once again. And so this is his mummy. And yeah, mummies are dry. Gonna open these up. Thank you, Alex. I'm gonna open these up and I'm gonna read them later. That's not what I wanted. That's what I want. Addicted, yes. So mummies, all of these pharaohs would have been buried with their jewelry. Most of them are not found because this is a very, these are all looted. They have been previously looted and then they were reburied in a royal cache. But God, Tutankhamun had layers and layers of jewelry on him. And amulets. Amulets would also be buried within all of the wrappings as well for religious reasons. So we have Amos here. So the mummy had been damaged in antiquity. This probably was done by looters. His head had been broken off and his nose had been broken and pushed in. An examination of the mummy revealed that the brain had been removed through the foramen magnum, which is in the back of the nostrils. Oh wait, no. Foramen magnum is the back of the skull, I think. Mark, correct me if you're listening. Rather than, the bottom of the skull. Yeah. Rather than through the part on the back of your nose. The cranial cavity had been packed with linen, and Reeves raises the possibility that this could have been done by ancient restorers in the 21st dynasty rather than by the original embalmers. Ikram and Dodson note that Amos, in distinction from other ancient Egyptian men, was not circumcised, as you can see from the photo on the right. The king's arms were not folded over his chest, as other royal mummies of later periods were, but were fully extended with the hands facing inward to the thighs. You say brain cord? Spinal cord. So they also show the remains of some beads around the king's knees. No other objects were found with Amos in DB320, but a Shapti of this king is in the British Museum. Probably was maybe found in this tomb and then sold somewhere else. Amos was found in what was, according to Reeves, probably the innermost coffin of his original nested coffin set. It had been painted yellow and may have originally been gilded. Reeves does not mention the presence of adze marks. Adze is like this metal thing that they would use to actually scrape off the gold. In some groups, yes, Wharton. For pharaohs is apparently typical. We don't have a lot of evidence of it, but there are some, no, you're fine. We don't have a lot of evidence of it, but there is some, I think it's an Old Kingdom depiction of circumcision happening. So it's unclear, like, how many people, like, how many men, like, of what classes or groups, if it was just, like, a higher class thing, or lower, or everyone. But it does seem to have been done, at least for pharaohs and other higher class individuals. Ooh, human osteo. Fun, Mark. Yes, there are cases of it. It's just not totally clear if everyone did it or if it was just select groups. But if you look it up, if you look up, like, circumcision, you know what? I might as well show you guys. Yeah, here's the really common image. It's very hard to see, but there's a couple painted versions. Looks like it's at the tomb of Ankh-Mahor in Saqqara. But honestly, it might be the only one. I'm not sure. I am a human. Why circumcision from prehistory to the 21st century? Yeah, so this might be the only image. Because these pretty much all look the same. Yeah, that might be the only image we have. But it definitely happened. At least for a little bit short time. Doesn't mean that they were always drawing it and depicting it, obviously. So although the coffin doesn't appear to... I know, it's my own computer. I'll be fine. Even though the coffin doesn't appear to be currently gilded, there doesn't seem to be any marks that it was that all the gilded stuff was scraped off. So it may have been more carefully removed, and it says perhaps by officials, necropolis officials, rather than by thieves. That's a really tiny photo. I wish that was bigger, but that's the coffin. And somebody else says that it's not the original coffin. But there he is. So the original resting place of Ahmose is not known at this time, although Ikram and Dogdom suggest it was probably located in Dra Abu al-Naga, near the burial sites of his 17th dynasty ancestors, where his father was probably buried and where his, I believe, mother as well. Based on comparisons on the handwriting and the content of the linen dockets, and also on the stylistic similarities of their coffins, Reeve proposes that Ahmose and his possible son Siamun are both originally buried in the same tomb. So if you guys remember what I was telling you about, the linen dockets are these linen labels that were attached to these mummies and gave descriptions of who they were by these priests who kind of removed the mummies and then put them back in this tomb. So this linen docket says that he was Osirified by year 8, 3rd month of Peret, the 29th day of Susenes the First, which the full thing says Year 8, third month of Parrot, 29th day of Susenes I, King Penegem I, Menkeper Re, Menkeper Re, lands Keperka Re, Seten Amun, Penegem Mary Amun, commanded to Osirify the Osiris King Neb Pe Tire, which I think is probably his throne name of Amos, I would assume. Hi Nat, welcome on in. And then we also have this document that says the Osiris King Neb Pet Tire Amos. So you have the full thing. We just decorated our tree and we added your ornament to it. And now we're talking about DB320. Close-up shot of him. Here we are. He looks very young. I don't know how many years he was thought to rule. But you can see some of his hair is still here. Not safe for work. God, these high resolution images are lovely. Yeah, so his poor nose was damaged at some point. Look at the linen. It's so nice. All right, next one. Now we got our queen. This is Queen Amos Nefertari. In this case, they packed the eyes. In some cases, they just closed the eyes, or they would remove the eyeballs. But in this case, they put something else, probably linen. Thank you, I need to guide my posture. Packing the eyes with linen. To sort of make it not look at like as sunken in. But I don't know. I'm honestly not sure if they actually removed the eyeballs. I have a feeling they probably would degrade really fast. So even if they didn't remove them, we wouldn't be able to see them on like a CT scan. I'm not sure, honestly. So this is going to be, let me double check. So this is going to be Amos Nefertari, the wife of Amos the First. This is going to be Amos's wife. I just wanted to double check. Because there's many Nefertaris. But she is Amos Nefertari. So we know that she was the daughter of Ahotep I and Senkeneri Ta. So she was probably siblings with Amos. Good night, Crazy Unicorn Dash. Have a very good sleep. Did you have a good break, Nat? Were you able to take a break for Thanksgiving? Good night, Baha. Have a great rest of your night. Good could sleep with the doggo. Oh no. Nat, no! Nat, no! What did your professor make you do? What did he make you do? Well, I hope you got Thursday, at least Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oh no, wait. Yesterday is Saturday. This is gonna make me mad now. I'm very sorry, hun. I hope you at least had 2 days of relaxation. That's ridiculous. Oh, there's an ad. Okay, I'm gonna wait till the ad is done. True, but Trader Joe's would never, which is sad, but they're so good. I just need I was about to say, I need sugar! No, I need salt. I literally had dinner, and then I still was hungry, and so I made something extra, like, literally 10 minutes before stream started. And then had pie. I made the pie, guys. The pie was amazing. I can't remember if I told you guys about the pie. Sorry, I have so many unread emails that are all useless. Thank you, Addicted, but I don't need medical advice. Where are these emails that are supposedly unread? Oh, there they are. All of these emails are just like completely useless. They're all freaking Black Friday emails that I didn't open in time. Now the Cyber Monday emails come in. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? I know, but everybody is different, and it's just best to, I don't know. I have found that, like, I try never to give people any medical advice about anything, even if I'm just reflecting on something that somebody has told me or something more personal about me, because I have found that it's just so much more trying to embrace you and trying not to judge people, even if it's not really judging. It's just like, well, what about this? What about this? And like, it's just hard. And it's just, I find like kind of blanket statement. I really try to limit giving advice about medical stuff to other people, because you have no idea like what's going on in their health history or anything like that. All right, back to this queen. So we have Queen Amos Nefertari, wife of Amos the First, probably sister as well. And what is very interesting about her is that she was worshipped by the tomb builders at Deir al-Medina many years after her death, along with her son Amenhotep I. I think it was Amenhotep I who was the one who actually built Deir al-Medina, but both of them sort of collectively are worshipped in that city, which is pretty cool. So the mummy identified that as Amos Nefertari was that of an old woman with well-worn teeth and a balding scalp. A wig consisting of plaits of human hairs tied to strings had been placed upon her head. Other plaits had been affixed to her own hair. Amos Nefertari's mummy had been damaged in antiquity by tomb robbers, and both her hands as well as part of her right forearm had been broken off and were missing. A gaping embalming incision stuffed with linen appeared on her left side, and the impression of an embalming plate could be seen in the dry resinous material which was used to cover the wound. The thieves had stolen this object, which is probably made out of gold. So an embalming plate is where they would embalm on the left side, sort of right above the hip, kind of up to the stomach. And an embalming plate was usually a piece of thin gold that would be placed over that incision to sort of heal that incision so that you were okay kind of in the afterlife. But somebody stole it, which sucks. Amos Nefertari was found in her original, very large outermost coffin, so the largest of niched coffins. Think of the largest Russian nesting doll egg. It had probably been originally decorated with gold foil, but that had been removed, and the areas which it had once covered was painted over in yellow to imitate gold. The coffin is often accurately described as colossal and was large enough to also accommodate the cartonnage coffin and mummy of Ramses III, which were found within its cavernous interior along with Amos Nefertari's mummy. Look how tall this thing is. This thing is crazy. This thing is like absolutely insane how big this thing is. I wonder if we have a size. Hello, my love. Welcome on in. We're looking at some mummies. I'm trying to find this giant coffin of this pharaoh or this queen. Amos Nefertari coffin. How are you, my love? We put up our Christmas tree today and we put up your ornaments. Yeah, so this thing is huge. I was hoping... Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, they moved her coffin. I was going to say, her coffin used to be in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, but it's because it's with her mummy now. Which also, I didn't realize that the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization had a website with images of the royal mummies. I did not know that. But yeah, this thing is freaking massive. Like, even this picture, you can see how short he is. For a Pokemon. Normal activities. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely normal activities, for sure. We're just looking at dead people. She makes videos where she connects Pokemon to history for TikTok. But 55 months, Mallory. The organs were removed for essentially, it is for religious reasons, but it's actually mainly for the preservation of the body and the deceased. Because they believe that when you go into the afterlife is exactly like the real world, but just in the land of the gods. So you still need to eat, you still need to breathe, so you still need all of those organs. So they took them out and mummified them so that they would be preserved. So it is religious, but it's also kind of normal. Yeah, sorry, Addicted, I missed that when we came in. What was I gonna say? And you think you're right? Yeah, you're always right, Mallory. You always find those little tidbits of connecting Pokemon with history and stuff. We literally only had one person show up to our museum today, and the only reason he showed up is because there was apparently a Pokemon Go meetup in the park that's around our museum. And he only came in because he needed to use the bathroom. Yeah, there are 3 different canopic jars, or 4 different 4 canopic jars, for 4 different organs: the lungs, liver, intestines, and stomach. Lungs, liver, stomach, intestines. And their 4 sons of Horus protected them. So they are all definitely real. They change over time. They don't always have the 4 different heads. They actually were all human heads up until about the Middle Kingdom, late Middle Kingdom into New Kingdom. But yeah. I also didn't realize it was a community day because nobody came into the museum, so I was stuck in the museum in the rain. So along with the coffin, 4 calcite canopic jars attributed to Amos Nefertari were also found in DB320. So Reeves speculates that her original tomb was called ANB. I've never heard of this tomb before. Which is located west of necropolis of Dra Abu al-Naga. Oh, okay. It may have been the burial place of Amenhotep I and his mother. Interesting. The heart stayed in the body, because the heart was the center of all knowledge, and emotion and all of that. And then the brain was either left in the skull to disintegrate, or was taken out via some sort of hole. Usually they stuck a rod up the nose, broke the piece of skull that's in between the nose and the skull, and like fried the brain and then let the liquid ooze out. They also sometimes poured resin into the skull cavity as well. But as we learned with Amos's brain came out the back end, from the foramen magnum. But it also does differ in time. There are some time periods the heart was not left in the body, and they actually put in a heart scarab, like a really large like scarab the size of a heart. And then sometimes the brain was left in, and sometimes they just poured in resin instead of actually trying to empty it. It also kind of depends on how rich you are and how fancy of a mummification you can afford. Oh, absolutely. For those who don't know, Mallory and I did a kids program, and we let kids be canopic jars, and we removed organs from it's a plastic apron that has Velcro organs on it. And so we let the kids rip the organs off of the person. And then I had a pink streamer in my hand, and I pulled out the brain from the nose. Not as much. Both of us have been so busy, and it's just hard. It's hard. We want to, but man, it's just hard to find stuff and figure out. Life just won't stop, and it's just hard because, to be honest, I think if both of us were more stable in like finances and job, we would be able to kind of pour more into this. But because both of us have to do so much to kind of stay afloat, it's hard to kind of, yeah. The big problem is the funding of it, is that we are still, and we're a couple hours away from each other, but it's literally like, we both need to stay afloat, and it's just really hard. I have not heard of that baloney. We have like $3. Yeah. Yeah. It's just lots of stuff. Sugar daddy. Let's go, Mallory. I still haven't been monetized. It's taking so goddamn long. So long. Did you, when you got monetized on YouTube, did you get monetized via shorts or hour, what is it called? It's hour, it's like watch hours versus shorts views. Which one did you get monetized via? Because, mine is still watch time hours, but I'm so slow. I'm so slow. I think we're a third of the way there. It's just taking forever. Thank you, Dee Dee. It's hard, Dee Dee. I don't know much about the Egyptology world in Brazil. But try to consume as much media as you can if you can't actually, like, go and get classes. Try to consume it as much as you can. Try to find online classwork, which it does exist in some other countries, maybe. Yeah, it's very hard. I don't know what the Egyptology world is like in Brazil, really. That's what we need everybody to do. Mark was watching my playlist on repeat, and I gotta do that. Mark, do it. Put on a playlist. Maybe make a playlist with all of my videos, and I'll just have it. We're about a third away the way there. We need 3,000 hours. I think I just passed like 1,060 or something. Just so hard. So much. Yeah, I guess that is true. I don't have as many VODs, but I do have the Indiana Jones ones. Ooh, very cool, Dee Dee. I'm so glad. Yeah, definitely, like, reach out to her and, like, try anything to get, like, any opportunities from her, because, there's not a lot. Yeah, the guest lectures are all there, too. I think those are all in a playlist, actually. So those you could play for a while, because those are quite long. Just watch Paleontologizing's a million times over. That's 5 hours. Alright. I'm gonna finish my corn nuts, and then we're gonna keep going. What time is it? 10:10. God, I'm sleepy. Alright. So yeah, so we know that Amos Nefertari, possibly, we think that she may have been buried in this A and B, which is very interesting because it's not in the Valley of the Kings, but Valley of the Kings was not really a thing until the 18th dynasty, so it makes sense that these guys are not buried there. They're actually being closer buried to where all the other 17th dynasty kings are, who they are directly related to, at least at this point. And that she may have been buried with her son, Amenhotep I. We have some official inscriptions from year 16 of Ramses IX, as well as restorations from year 6 and year 16 of Smedes. Let's look at the high-res photo of her. We don't have a seemingly a full body image of her. You can see her really nice locks. She's got a very interesting lip here. And yeah, and you can see that they've packed the eyes with something. And apparently her hands were missing. But she apparently was an old lady. Which would make sense that she'd be buried with her son, to be honest. And she was kind of balding. Hey, Taxdu, welcome on in. All right, let's talk about Lady Rye. Lady Rye's an interesting one. I've always liked her. So Rye is an interesting one because she is probably the least royal of a lot of the people found in this cache. She's a nurse. So she is more than likely a nurse of Queen Amos Nefertari, which is very interesting. But she has a great mummification, like a really, really good mummification, to be honest. So the mummy of Lady Rye was unwrapped by G.E. Smith on June 26, 1909. He distinguished her mummy as the most perfect example of embalming that has come down to us from the time of the early 18th dynasty, and perhaps of even any period. He further characterized her the least unlovely of the existing female mummies and describing her as slim, gracefully built woman, measuring 1 meter 510 millimeters in height. Anyone know how tall that is? Hi, birdie. 1 meter and 510 millimeters. I'm very bad at conversion. With small childlike hands. Okay. Lady Rye's teeth show only slight wear. This, coupled with the fact 4'11". Oh my god, she's a baby. Thank you, Darius. 4'11" is so small. I think my great aunt is 4'11". She's so small. The tiniest little French, not French woman, but French accented woman. She's actually Spanish. Honestly, we don't have a lot of nurses. I don't know any others, to be honest. So the idea that people in the past were shorter is actually not really that true. When you look back to ancient Egypt, yes, they are kind of shorter, but it's not as bad as people kind of say it is. But especially the what's it called? Even more recently, like the whole Napoleon was short. Napoleon was not short. Ancient Egypt, yes, they are a little bit shorter, but there are some taller people. Now, I will not say nurse is going to mean like a medical nurse. This is probably going to be somebody who is like, not necessarily a servant, but a carer for somebody. We do know of I know of Tutankhamun's midwife, like Maya. Yeah, so Maya is Tutankhamun's like midwife slash also governess. Governess is a bad word, but like Maya is a confirmed character. I don't think we have her mummy though. Wet nurse. Yes, wet nurse is the word. That's the word I was missing. Yeah, so like a carer, a governess, somebody who took care of her. And so this could be somebody who took care of her. Yes, this could be a lady in waiting, especially because we're talking about a queen that was particularly older when she died. This might even be sort of on the, what's it called? This could be sort of on like maybe elderly care. Hospice nurse is not the right thing, but like this could be a lady in waiting to her. That like we don't 100% know exactly what her position was, but the word nurse is sort of what we use. Yeah, I'm talking about Maya Tutankhamun's. I'm not talking about whichever one you're talking about, if that's a different one. I was talking about Maya Tutankhamun's nurse or wet nurse. Lady Rye's teeth only show slight wear. This, coupled with the fact that her scalp retained abundant amounts of what appears to be her own hair, not a wig, indicates that she was relatively young when she died. Her hair is especially interesting because of the elaborate fashion in which it's been styled. Tightly plaited groups of braids were fashioned into long, thick masses, which hang suspended from either side of the head to cover the upper chest region. Both of these masses of hair had been carefully wrapped in linen bandages. Smith only removed the bandages from one of these thick tresses, as you can see. So he decided, when he unwrapped her, he decided to keep one, and you can probably see it looks like he didn't unwrap her other arm as well. Yeah. So I was referencing Maya the wet nurse, not Maya the advisor. I forgot. You're right. There is Maya with a Y. That is different. The Lady Rye had been wrapped in linen described by Smith as being moderately fine texture. Smith also records inscriptions that were found on the wrappings, but he only supplies data about one of these, which he must have found during the unwrapping, which only sorry guys, which only gives Lady Rye's name. Smith reports that the mummy's face and body had been thinly coated with resin mixed with sand. Very strange. He found an embalming incision in the traditional position on the left side of the body and noted this was covered with a fusiform embalming plate of the kind found on other 18th dynasty mummies. A single barrel, may have been more acid reflux than the cornets attacking my throat. A single barrel carnelian bead was found on the right wrist, a small remainder of the jewelry which once had been placed on the mummy. The intact coffin on which Lady Rye was found, which you can see here, was of a 19th or 20th dynasty design and originally belonged to a servant in the Palace of Truth, or the Place of Truth, which is Deir el-Medina, named Paher Ipedjet. So at some point, this person was removed from the coffin and was replaced with Lady Rye, whose own coffin was employed for the burial of Amos in Happy. So I've mentioned that when they were moving all these different mummies and they were placing them in these caches, they sometimes did possibly accidental or possibly on purpose switcheroos of some of the coffins. But luckily most of the coffins are inscribed, so we can sort of connect it, but not always. So this coffin right here is not hers. This is the one that she was found in, but not the one that was originally made for her. Paher Ipedjet's mummy was not identified among those found in DB320, and its final resting place is not currently known with certainty. Reeves speculates that he may be one of the unidentified DB320 male mummies. There are some unidentified mummies. So it might be him, but he's not labeled, so we don't know. So Reeves thinks that Lady Rye was perhaps rewrapped and docketed within WNA, which is a tomb which he identifies as the Kayi in Hapi. She would have remained in this tomb with other mummies associated with Amos I until their removal to DB320, which he dates sometimes after the years 11 of Shawshank I. So he actually thinks that there were two caches, that some of these mummies were moved to this first tomb, WNA, and then later moved to DB320. G.E. Smith provides only the only report of an identifying linen docket on the wrappings of Lady Rye. He notes only that the inscription, which was translated by Daresay, gives her name and provides no other details. Smith also mentions several other inscriptions found on the mummy's bandages, but these were apparently never recorded or never published. All of the mummies that are in DB320 are in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. I don't know if she is on display, though, because she is not a royal mummy. Well, actually, I'm gonna lie. I don't know. Maybe she's not in. Only the. Let's check the National Museum of Egyptian Exploration. Royal Mummies Gallery. I am assuming that only royal mummies are in this collection, so I would then assume that she is at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, but I don't think she's on display because not a lot of mummies are actually on display in that museum now. Tutmos, Amenhotep II. 17 kings and 3 queens. So yes, I don't think she is here. Do they really? Yeah, so the only ones that are at the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization is... There's quite a few. Ramses. So, in order, Senkenri-Ptah II, Amos Nefertari, Amenhotep I. Is Amos not there? Tutmos I, Tutmos II, Hatshepsut, Tutmos III, Amenhotep III, no, Amenhotep II, Tutmos IV, Amenhotep III, Seti I, Ramses II, Merenptah, Seti II, Siptah, Ramses III, Ramses IV, Ramses V, Ramses VI, Ramses IX. So this is a good question. Where is Lady Rye now? Oh, in a 2009, a CAT scan by a medical team revealed that she had diseased aortic arch and is thus the oldest known mummy with evidence of atherosclerosis. Interesting. Oh, she literally, that is her Wikipedia page. Damn, Wikipedia. I gotta get better. Estimated age 35. But yeah, I would assume that she's at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, but honestly, it's not listed. So I do not know. So here we got some pictures. I always think about her because of her really sad boobs. So yeah, so it does say, this says the Catalogue de Musée de Cairo, but a lot of this is a very old publication, so a lot of the royal mummies that are mentioned in this catalog are now in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, but she is not a royal, so that is probably why she is not included, which is why I still think she's probably in Cairo. But there she is. But yeah, her boobs always make me sad. I also, I'm going to be honest, I don't know where her nipples went. I don't know if there is linen. Also, this is definitely the sand, the resin with sand. Where are her nipples? I never noticed this until today. This must be... She must still... I don't know. I don't know. I'm learning new things. I don't know where they are, but... Very interesting. Ah! I give him Nell. She's at the Egyptian National Museum. Nefertiti is a real person, yes. I can dress up like an Egyptian. I thought I took that away because I didn't have my necklace anymore, but I will wear my crown. That hurts my head. I need to get a better crown because this one, the elastic is way too tight. Nefertiti is the wife of Akhenaten. Oh, I forgot to show you guys. My statue, my Nefertiti, really tall, my 24-inch doll Nefertiti is all the way up here in the corner. There we go. That's the best that we're gonna get. It's just so tight, especially around my headphones. I answered that earlier. They don't. Thank you. They wouldn't sew the eyes shut, but they might remove the eyeballs. But they also, what the fuck? There we go. Can't get this stupid thing to work. But they get the, they sometimes, in this time period, they packed the eye cavities with like linen and resin and stuff. No, I don't think about that, to be honest. But yeah, she might be at the Egyptian National Museum, but I don't think she'd be on display because the exhibit is specifically only royal mummies, and she would not be included in that. It's a preservation. There's no real significance. It's just how they preserved mummies. But thank you for the 3 roses. It's just how they preserved them. All right, Cinnamon is an interesting case. So, Cinnamon is one of the only unwrapped mummies. No, you don't have to apologize. There's just no significant, like, resin is just the preservation that they're using. Thank you, Birdie. You don't have to apologize. I'm just answering it as truthfully as I can. So we have Cinnamon. Let me pull up the Wikipedia or Cinnamon. Which, again, look how horrible this Wikipedia page is. I don't particularly like the Mummy movies. They're not my kind of favorite movies. They did ground mummies into paint. I actually have a video about it in my Asking Egyptologists series. Oh, actually, it might be in my misinformation. But they also are about, it's not just Egyptian mummies that they ground into paint. They also ground modern homemade mummies, as well as mummies from the native peoples of the Canary Islands. I'm blanking on the name of that indigenous community. It starts with a G. But yeah, I have a whole video about it on TikTok if you want to take a watch. Take a look at it. I'm cautious just because of how bad the most recent the other mummy, the Tom Cruise mummy was. And so Guanches, yes, Guanches mummy, or Guancho mummies, I think is how they said it. But yeah, Guancho mummies, which also was a community that mummified their dead, and they were also ground down into mummy brown paint. So yeah, it's complicated. But Cinnamon or Cinnamon. Oh no, wait, this is different. This is a daughter. This is a son. This is the person I'm looking at. Cinnamon. There's Cinnamon and Cinnamon, which actually is the male and female equivalent of that name. The T in Cinnamon makes it a female. So No. They wouldn't steal the body parts, but they would open up the mummies to steal any jewelry that was on the mummy. So if a mummy is missing body parts, it's probably because, like, they just ripped the arm off because it had all the jewelry on it, and they took the jewelry and then they left the arm, and then the arm has since gone missing. It was not found, like, attached to the mummy, so it was not found with it. But no, they wouldn't necessarily steal the body parts. At least the ancient looters would not steal body parts. Modern looters, mummy, like the earliest ancient Egyptian object to enter the United States was a mummified hand. So it was more common back closer in time and stuff. But yeah, not the same. No forbidden beef jerky. Okay, so this is Amos Sitamun, or just Sitamun, which means child of the moon, daughter of Amun. And she is the daughter of Amos, as well as the sister of Amenhotep I. So she has the titles King's Daughter, King's Sister, and God's Wife, because I'm assuming she is married to Amos. Her name is written in a cartouche, which I would say. By year 18 of Amos I, her title string include King's Daughter and God's Wife. When her brother Amenhotep I became king, the titles King's Sister was added. Oh, so she's God's wife. What is... I actually don't know what the title God's Wife is. She must be a... Hemet Netcher. That is God, the wife of a god. She must be a priestess. Yeah, so she is King's sister. She is not King's wife. She holds the title King's Daughter, King's Sister, and God's Wife. Yeah, God's Wife I've seen before, but oh, okay, yeah. So it's just a shortened version of God's Wife of Amun. Yeah. So that makes sense. So during the 17th dynasty or during the third intermediate period? During the third intermediate period, the title God's Wife of Amun becomes an extremely important religious title for women. It is usually given automatically to a queen or to a female relative of the pharaoh. So I guess in this case, it's just a shortened version. So she probably is a God's wife to Amun, rather than being like God's wife just general, but it's obviously only listed as God's wife. Okay, so this is Sitamun. Absolutely. Karnak is massive and is very much intact in a lot of ways. Not perfect condition, but it is one of the best preserved ancient Egyptian tombs or temples. Excuse-moi. Sitamun, not cinnamon. So when examining the mummy of Princess Sitamun, turned out to be nothing more than a skull, a few remaining bones, and a reed mat, all combined to create a simulacrum of a mummy. One can only guess at the reasons for the manufacture of this curious artificial corpse. Perhaps Sitamun, who was a small child at the time of her demise... Wait a second, didn't this say she wasn't a small child? According to this, she is not a small child. Maspero apparently misidentified this mature woman as a child because her skull and some bones were found in a child's coffin. Okay. So she probably was not a child. Again, this website is a little bit old and outdated. Had died in such a way that little was left of her body. That's probably not always true. She may have been dismembered and partly devoured by wild animals or crocodiles. This is very speculative. Since religious beliefs necessitated the continued existence of a mummified body in order to ensure existence in the afterworld, a magical substitute body was created for her, or perhaps the original mummy of the princess had been so thoroughly damaged by ancient tomb robbers that their destructive search for valuables that little remained of it except for a skull and few bones, which the restorers piously collected for a decent reburial. Quite a lot of care was taken to provide her with a quote-unquote body, and this may argue in favor of an earlier date for her restoration, that which applies to the other royal mummies found in the cache tombs, whose body parts, when found disarticulated by the restorers, were often hastily and carelessly thrown together, sometimes with parts from different bodies mixed together by mistake. See, for example, Ramses VI. The mummy was found in an undecorated 18th dynasty coffin, which had been painted white, and you can see here. There is a docket that appears on its lid, which I can sort of see here. There appears to be some hieroglyphs right here. Probably was buried somewhere closer to Dra Bolanaga. The restoration is probably around the same time as the ossification of Siamun, which was around year 8 of Susenes the First. And all it says on the coffin, the king's daughter, Sitamun. So I'm gonna get to actually... Oh, we don't get to see Cinnamon. Maybe we don't? Wait, maybe this is the mummy that I'm thinking of. Maybe this is the mummy I'm thinking of. Okay. So Prince Siper, Amos Siper, oh, here we go. Was a prince of the late 17th dynasty. Is he on this list just earlier? Oh, here he is. Okay. So he is probably a son of Senkenri Tau and brother to Amos the First. So again, we're still getting these family members of the 17th dynasty pharaohs, but Amos the First is technically considered an 18th dynasty pharaoh because he takes over the Hyksos and reunites Egypt. Although technically he's on both. He's 17th and 18th dynasty. And there's only a couple pharaohs that really bridge that gap between two different dynasties. So the mummy of Amos Siper was unwrapped by G.E. Smith and A.R. Ferguson on September 9th, 1905. Among the 21st dynasty rewrappings were found numerous barley stalks, perhaps placed there as a symbol of immortality. Not much remained of the original mummy except for a few bones and the distorted skin. The skin was light brown in color, and Smith reported that it was still soft and pliable. Smith discovered that the boy had a full set of deciduous teeth, indicating that he was about 5 or 6 years old when he died. Smith also noted that he appeared to have been circumcised, stated that there was an unusual feature in boys from that age of the 18th dynasty who were typically circumcised at puberty. The small mummy of Amos Siper was found in a child's coffin in the 18th dynasty type, probably a replacement coffin from which all the gilded surfaces and inlays had been removed. And there is a docket on the lid. So it was probably buried in Dra Bolanaga, but we actually have a mention of this in Papyrus Abbott. Mentions an inspection of the tomb of Amos Siper in the year 16th of Ramses the 9th, third month of Ahet's 18th day. At the time, the tomb was discovered to be undisturbed. Reeves argues that at some unspecified time after this inspection, the child's mummy was moved to the Ka'i of Enhapi, along with other 18th dynasty burials. He dates the transfer to some year after year 11 of Shawshank the First. So he actually probably was relatively unlooted for quite a long time. And the docket on his tomb just says his name, Amos Siper. Ooh. Oh boy, I have never seen this picture before. But we have the coffin with the little bundle. This This might be a slight trigger warning because I've actually never seen this before. Ooh. Oh, this poor baby. His mummification is actually weirdly good, minus he's obviously missing a foot. But very odd. He still has some hair too. He does, but I don't think that is what he looked like. I think this is... I think this is damage from looting. Or a very bad mummification. What did this say again? The distorted skin. So maybe there's not enough bones in that, but the skin is actually like really well mummified. Because it only says a few bones. I don't know if it has a skull. Although no, it said it had a full set of teeth, so it's so interesting. I would read that one. I would read into that one more because I've never seen the actual picture of him. And obviously this doesn't even go. This doesn't go into his mummy at all. It's very interesting. All right, I think we talked about this girl last time, but I honestly can't remember if we did. It's possible, but I don't know how much of that is actually attributed to when he was alive versus when he was dead. I would have to honestly read more into what happened. It's possible because obviously he was young, but okay, we did talk about this one. Okay, I thought we did talk about her. Okay, why we're like missing some. Like, when are we gonna get to Tutmos? Oh no, here we are. Okay. So, yeah, so we did 17th gallery. This is the gallery 2. Come on. Alrighty, what time is it? 10:44? Okay, I'm gonna try to get through these ones. Just so I remember which ones that we're at. I think we might be able to, but we'll see what happens. So... there we go. Okay. We're still in order. Okay. This is a cool one. So this is Amenhotep I. He is the son of Ahmose I, as well as Ahmose Nefertari. And Amenhotep I's mummy was actually discovered in really good condition, as you can see by the countless beautiful flower garlands that are found around his mummy. And so he has actually never been unwrapped. They chose to specifically not unwrap him because of how much better condition he appeared than all the other mummies. So the mummy of Amenhotep I was discovered in very good condition and has never been unwrapped. Yes, I do believe that they've x-rayed him, and I might be able to... oh yeah, here it is. We'll look at that in a second, but it looks like a digital unwrapping of the mummy. It was found in an intact Cartonnage funerary mask and had been rewrapped. So it wasn't original, but had been rewrapped by the 21st Dynasty restorers in an orange shroud held in place with horizontal and vertical bands, strips of banding. Numerous floral garlands had been placed over the shroud and descend almost to the feet of the mummy. Georg Schweithfirth, a professional botanist who examined the floral decorations not long after the mummy's discovery, identified red, yellow, and blue flowers in which the garland was composed as Delphinium orientale, Sabania aegyptica, Acacia nilotica, and Carmanthus tinctorius. Then Tomaszewska reported that the fragrance of the ancient Delphinium orientale was still detectable by the scientists who x-rayed the mummies in 1965. A long-dead wasp, which had probably been attracted by the scent, was also found in the coffin. Very cool. So x-rays published in 1967 reveal a bead girdle and a small amulet still within the mummy wrappings. They also show a post-mortem fracture on the lower right arm, which Reeves thinks probably occurred during the 21st Dynasty rewrapping. Although broken, the king's arms had been placed across his chest, which was to become the standard position for king's mummies. In 2019, the mummy of Amenhotep was given a thorough CT scan, which revealed many interesting features, including the presence of 30 funerary amulets concealed within the wrappings. Obviously, they couldn't be discovered on X-ray because X-ray can only discover usually metal objects, which is probably why the other two were discovered. But this is the detailed report. Let's see if this is free access. Yeah, it looks like free access. Oh yeah, this is the picture I've seen. So you can actually see how big of a cavity there is from the red is the wrappings, and then obviously the sarcophagus. There's a pretty big gap up in the top. Faking your height. But here we have the mummy. You can actually see quite a lot of hair. Short, but hair. Obviously the color is added during the CT scan, so you can see the distinct differences between stuff. His nose has sunken in a little bit, but that could be because of the mummification. And then you get the skull, and you actually have, this is an instance where I think I'd have to double check with the report, but I'm pretty sure the brain has been left in the skull. It's unclear if this is all resin or just empty, but this is the brain kind of settled in the back. Let's see. Mid-sagittal CT scan of image of the head and neck shows an intact cribiform plate, and the preserved desiccated brain rests at the back of the skull. Yeah. So a linen band of linen treated with resin wrapped the fractured cervical spine and fixed the detachable head. Yeah, so this is empty space. So sometimes they would fill the brain cavity with resin, but sometimes they wouldn't. So in this case, they decided not to remove his brain, and so they actually let it. Not always, Fenvis. More often than not, you would actually pierce. So here's his nose. They would take a long metal stick and they would pierce this section of the skull to get into the brain cavity, and they would sort of like wiggle it around a lot to blend it up into like sort of a liquid, and then it would pour out the nose, or they could come in here through the very back of the skull and get it out. Yeah, they go and scramble it. A lot of people they depict it like that they strung it out, but a brain is not noodles. Even though it looks like noodles, it's not. I have a what's it called, a pop-up book, and it depicts them pulling it out like a noodle, and that's not how a brain works. So brain is not noodles. So they actually would go in and they would sort of scramble it, and then the liquid would come out. But they also sometimes would pierce that hole and they would pour in resin. So it just depends on the time period. And in some cases, it depends on how fancy of how rich you were to afford a good mummification. But this guy's a king, so he could afford more. It's just obviously not the style. I don't know, Mark. I don't know if they really... Yes, they had the tools to like really cut the brain, but I think it probably has to do with like the preservation of the person, and that they wouldn't like openly cut. They already are cutting out all of the organs and stuff, and that's why they put out that's why they put the embalming plate over the embalming incision. You're not really supposed to. You want the body in the most intact shape so that when you go to the afterlife, you are the most intact. And so I think potentially like getting a giant hole in a brain, hole in a skull would not be good for them. No, the brain was thrown away. The ancient Egyptians thought that the brain could only secrete mucus. They thought that everything that a brain could do, they thought that the heart did. So the heart was left in the body. But no, the brain was just thrown away. Or again, just left in the skull to desiccate. They didn't mummify it. No, it's not. Sadly. I mean, I don't know if it is sadly, but no thanks. Okay, I'm gonna close. I have too many tabs open. Okay. So here we got his body. Wait, didn't I just read that his arms were crossed? His arms are not placed across his chest, according to the CT scan. Oh, okay. The initial position of the arms was across, but this has been dislocated and broken. And apparently 2 of the fingers are missing, and they're on the side over here. What does it say? Also, this is free access if anybody wants to go and read it. Yeah, the broken hand has 3 flexed fingers. The missing 2 fingers are seen in the anterior abdominal wall. Oh, that's what it is. So these are the two fingers, and then this is a pin that was meant to put the arm back together. Large anterior wall defect. His little foot. Ooh, God, that looks painful. Oh, this is Mark's territory. The symphysis pubis, which helps tell us the age of him, possibly. Which is crazy that they are able to see the surface of this part of the bone to determine age. Oh, look at his teeth. Oh, they're worn down, kind of short. They don't look horrible. Oh yeah, full set of healthy teeth. They're a little short in the front, but... Hey man, they did. It says the morphology indicates stage 4 corresponding to 35.2 plus or minus 9.4 years old. They did it. Which is hard because that is such a blurry ass image, but they did it. It's a pretty wide range though, 9.4 plus years, plus or minus years. So you could be anywhere from late 20s to his early 40s. Mid 20s to mid, yeah, it's a huge range for sure. Oh yeah, here's the beaded. I remember this only came out really recently. I did a video about this. Hi Carthulu, welcome on in. This is the beaded, what do they call it again? A girdle, which I don't like the word for, but this is the beaded girdle that's around the mummy's waist. So many pictures. Any more photos? Okay, no more photos. But that is a pretty good article. And again, it's pretty recent. It's only 2019. Or no, actually, no, that was published in 2021. That's what I thought. I was like, I did a video about that, which meant my TikTok had to be in existence. And I did. I've done a video about that when they released it. But we are doing good. We're talking about mummies in DB320. I'm kind of fading fast. I don't know if we're going to be able to get all through the ones on this one. But we'll try. We'll see what happens. So we're talking about Amenhotep I. So he was found in a replacement coffin, which Reeves thinks that was part of the same group of coffins that Thutmose II's replacement coffin came from. Originally was made for a mid-18th dynasty priest named Jehudimos and was subsequently reinscribed by the reburial party for Amenhotep I. Coffin also had an inscription supplying other reburial data, which we'll look at in a second. He notes the similarities between this replacement coffin and that of Thutmose II, concludes that Thutmose II's may have been reburied a month before Amenhotep I's restoration occurred. The beard that originally appeared on the coffin's portrait mask is visible in the photo, which you can see here. Was taken by Emil Bursch shortly after the clearance. Partridge calls attention to the fact that the beard is missing from the portrait mask in the photo taken by Darcy in 1909. This photo. Oh, yep, that beard's gone. Why is that beard gone? That's very silly. Okay. Ooh, very cool. He also reports that the beard did not appear in the coffin, which was displayed in the Cairo Museum when he was conducting research for his book in 1984. What happened to the beard remains uncertain. Somebody stole the beard. It might have been accidentally broken off while undergoing restoration work between 1881 and 1909 and never reattached. To view an interactive digital model of the coffin, click here. Ah! Hello, hello. Thank you, American Research Center in Egypt. A nice 3D... Oh my god, look how good it looks! Okay, wait. This is sick. Now you can see where his little beard is missing. So again, this is not originally made for Amenhotep I, but this is the coffin that was made for him. And you can see this is the reinscribed portion. So this is a hieratic inscription that says, the recoffining of Amenhotep I and the movement of his mummy from a place until its final deposit. I think I'll read it. I think it's on the last page. They had really crazy razors. Also, though, beards that pharaohs wore ceremonial and were often attached. Actually, oh no, that's just the line of his face. They were often like attached, like with some string. But here you can see all the inscriptions for the other person that this was originally made for. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, what's at the bottom? No. Oh yeah, so this has been repainted with Amenhotep I's name. Who do we have? Nephthys? Yeah, Nephthys. Yeah, I couldn't see the lid. But Nephthys, and she's standing on an image for gold. I want to turn it over. Can I turn it over? Ooh. Oh, okay, they didn't scan the bottom. Which makes sense. They did scan the sides, though. We gotta do... we gotta find some more 3D models of Sketchfab of artifacts. We've done all the 3D models of all the different tombs, but Sketchfab is also really cool. But you can see this awesome photo of him actually in the burial. So the coffin docket says year 6, 4th month of Perit, 7th day of Smedes or Penegem I. On this day, the high priest of Amun-Re, king of the gods, Penegem, son of Pionk, commanded the renewal of the burial of King Jeser-Ka-Re, son of Re, Amenhotep I, by overseer of the double treasury, Pa something. And then there's also another one that says year 16, 4th month of Perit, 11th day, the high priest of Amun-Re, king of the gods, Masaharta, son of King Penegem, commanded the renewal of the burial of this god by the scribes of the treasury and the scribes of the temple of Penamun, son of Sutimos. So yeah, very cool. It's got lots of cool stuff in there. Absolutely. Lurk away. We're winding down, but I'm trying to see if I can get through all the ones on this list today. We got Thutmose I, also has a beautiful mummification. He is at the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. So the mummy of Thutmose I has been thoroughly plundered in antiquity, but his body remained basically intact except for missing hands. Oh my god, he is missing hands! I've never seen that before. Smith calls attention to an excellent state of preservation of the mummy and notes that I lost my train of thought. I note the firmness and durability of skin and tissues. The bandages have been soaked in resin, and from the condition of the ears, G.E. Smith concluded that they had been plugged with balls of resin, as in the case of Thutmose II and Thutmose III. Smith remarked that the mummy's genitalia had been treated in an unusual manner. Why are we talking about so much genitalia today by accident? Having been somehow flattened against the perineum, and thereby giving an erroneous impression that the man had been castrated. Nope, it's there. This may have resulted from the over-dissection during the embalming process. Maspero noted that the mummy's teeth were worn, believing the man was over 50 at the time of his death. Mummy was found in coffins originally made for Thutmose I by Thutmose III. Winlock observed that the outer coffins would fit snugly into the KV-38 sarcophagus. Reeve notes textual similarities between inscriptions on the inner coffin and the KV-38 sarcophagus lid. The coffins had been appropriated, redecorated, and reinscribed by Penegem I for his own use. So, original coffins of Thutmose I that were reinscribed for somebody else, which is common, unfortunately, especially in this tomb. Which tells you essentially that this guy's tomb was already looted, so that they took the coffins out for Penegem I, which is much later. Penegem I think, is 3rd intermediate period, so 21st dynasty. This is called DB, or what website this is? This is a very weird website that is kind of old. Copy link address. That should work. It's sort of called the Theban Royal Mummy Project. About to Harkin basket burial. That's very cool. Oh, that's a beautiful one. I actually thought this mummy was my mummy for a really, really long time, because the coffin looks really similar to the mummy that we found, or the mummy that I talked about and did research on, but it sadly is not close. It's not close. Okay. Okay, we're on Thutmose. Since there were no dockets on the bandages or the coffins, the identification of this mummy is still a matter of dispute. Maspero believes this to be the body of Thutmose I because to him, the head bore a striking resemblance to those of Thutmose II and Thutmose III. Smith gave further support to this identification by concluding that the technique of embalming employed dates the mummy to a period later than Ahmose and earlier than Thutmose II. However, prevailing opinion currently denies that the body is that of Thutmose I because of his position of his arms, which are not crossed over the chest, as are all pharaohs after Amenhotep I. One recent theory, as noted by Ikram and Dodson, proposed that this mummy is actually of Ahmose Sipari, the alleged father of Thutmose I. Interesting. But yeah, he doesn't have those crossed. He doesn't have those crossed arms. That is true. I don't know a lot about Thutmose I, to be honest. I did not know he had a father that is not a pharaoh. The original tomb of Thutmose I is still not known with certainty, since two tombs, KV38 and KV20, and two sarcophagi, one from each tomb, are associated with this king. The circumstances surrounding his burial are far from clear. Lorette, who discovered KV38 in 1899, believed that this was the tomb of Thutmose I, referred to by, you say puppies, and I have to look. No, those are jackals. If it's on this little, if it's on this little cornice, like altar, that's a jackal. It's always a jackal. And actually these say, for most of the Westerners. Also, if they're fully black, more than likely they're jackals. Honestly, that's another, and their tails are thicker. Oh, shit. Sorry? Fire truck outside. Sorry, I didn't look. That is Danderson 4. Do you know Danderson 4? So the one thing I want to double check on, is this the guy that we just found potentially another one of his tombs, or am I wrong? That was another Thutmose. Yeah, that was another Thutmose. Whoa, look at that. Never seen that before. Huh. It's a painting. Oh! Danderson 4. Okay. He's done a lot of 3D models. Very good to know. Okay. However, in 1903, Howard Carter excavated KV20 and discovered another sarcophagus inscribed for Thutmose I, along with a sarcophagus belonging to Hatshepsut. The question arose concerning which of the tombs associated with the king was the original place of his burial. After studying the architectural design of KV38, John Romer dated it to a time no earlier than the reign of Thutmose III. Proponents of Romer's dating scheme therefore pointed to KV 2020, known to be the tomb of Hatshepsut, as the original tomb of Thutmose I. They argue that Queen Hatshepsut wished to be buried with her father and had his tomb modified to accommodate her own burial. Thutmose III, wishing to erase Hatshepsut's memory, subsequently prepared KV 38, complete with a new sarcophagus for Thutmose I, and had the king removed from the dead queen's offensive presence and reburied buried in a newer tomb. So that is some very interesting theories about this. So it could have been in 2 different tombs. And then we'll quickly look at his poor little hands. His poor hands. So sad. And his penis. But oh wow, look at those eyelashes. Ah! Eyelashes! Holy crap, look how cool that is. Wow, he's got like a full set of eyelashes over here. That's crazy. So in this case, they didn't pack the eyes. They left the eyes kind of open. Is this a side profile? Yeah, he bald. They didn't even try to put on a wig on him. He bald. But look at all the skin. So interesting. Ha! No. But that is a good joke. There's a color portrait of him. All right, let's go on to Thutmose II. So we got Thutmose II. He was unwrapped by Gaston Maspero on July 1st, 1886. It had been severely damaged in antiquity and was restored by G.E. Smith on September 22nd, 1906. Smith chronicles the history of injuries that this mummy sustained at the hands of thieves. The right leg was severed from the body, the abdominal wall was broken away, the ribs were badly broken, the right arm was cut off just below the elbow, the left arm was broken off at the shoulder, and the neck and face had been cut in several places with a sharp instrument. Thutmose II's fingernails and toenails had been neatly trimmed. His ears and nostrils had been plugged with linen soaked in resin, and the remains of the embalming wound, which had been mostly obliterated when the abdominal wall was hacked away, indicated that it had been fusiform, large, and gaping. Although Maspero reported the presence of the king's genitals when he unwrapped the mummy in 1886, Smith could find no definite remains of them when he examined the mummy 20 years later. Great. This is all we've been talking about this entire stream by accident. He comments that they may have originally been flattened out and pressed against the perineum, just like with Thutmose I above. Maspero believes that Thutmose II died young at around age 30. He based his conclusion on the condition of the king's teeth, which were not badly worn. However, Smith pointed out that the ruler's overbite, a well-known characteristic of the Thutmosids, could have affected dental wear, and therefore conclude that the dentally based age estimate was doubtful. Smith noted that Thutmose II was particularly bald and the skin of his face was wrinkled, facts which made him conclude that he was older than 30 when he died. No obvious causes of death were found during the examination of the mummy, but Maspero, Smith, Ikram, and Dodson all report that the ruler's skin is covered with scab-like patches, gross, that may be symptomatic of some as yet known unknown disease which may have claimed his life. Smith, however, thought that the skin eruptions could have been caused by post-mortem reactions of tissues when the embalming materials. That's really gross on both parts. He was equipped with a floral garland and an outer shroud covering the remains on the original wrappings. The shroud had a 21st dynasty inscription, which dates the reburial to year 6, 3rd month of Perit, 7th day of Smedes and Penegem I. He was found in a coffin originally belonging to an unidentified man, also of the 18th dynasty. So not his coffin. So probably it's theorized that he may have been buried in KV 42, which is in the southwestern edge of the Valley of the Kings. It was discovered by Victor Lorette in 1898 to 1899. The tomb had a cartouche-shaped burial chamber and royal proportions, and architecturally seemed part of the series of tombs beginning with the tomb of Thutmose I and ending with the tomb of Thutmose III. In the tomb, they discovered canopic jars for Senetne, the wife of Senefer, who was the mayor of Thebes during the reign of Amenhotep II, which would date it much later. But it might have been Senefer's tomb, obviously. Royal proportions, I think, are referencing that royal tombs were actually very standardized in the Valley of the Kings. So like, ooh, I was trying to find, so like, oh, I forgot about KV20 is weird. But they do tend to have a typical, like this is a small one, but they tend to have a typical way about it. And another, what it probably also means, royal proportions, they are really tall, and I did not know this when I went to Egypt. Let me see if I can find some pictures. Are you gonna open? Luxor. Like, it's very hard to describe how tall. I'm trying to see if I have a good picture. For example, we're in a burial chamber. My dad is 6'4". But these tombs, when you go into them, they are very tall. Oh, here's a video. So they are over 6 feet tall, which for pharaohs is common, but other tombs are much smaller. You're crawling. But these tombs are very tall, and they do tend to have a sort of standard plan that is kind of copied. It does differ, like for all of like kind of the dynasties and stuff, but they have these long descending passageways, and then they have a little set of stairs, and then they have another passageway, then they have a set of stairs, then they have another passageway, then they go into the burial chamber, then they have these little offshoot burial chambers. So they're not all the same, but many of them, and the other thing is many of them are decorated completely the same. They are decorated so similarly that genuinely it is really like it's kind of when you go into every single tomb like I did, which I went to what, 13, 14 tombs in one day. They got very repetitive, which I didn't realize. I am 5'11". My father is 6'4", and my brothers are 6'4". But yeah, I'm tall. I love that people don't realize that I'm tall, but I am. I'm a big girl. But I am tall. So, okay. Is this who we're looking at? Yes, Tutmosis II. So yeah, so they're kind of guessing that this tomb might have it. Might have been for Tutmosis II, but it's a little hard to kind of figure it out because, like, Carter found foundation deposits in the tomb for somebody else, and you're like, great. I'm not going to read all of this because this is just people arguing back and forth. But the linen docket said, year 6, 3rd month of Perit, 7th day of Smedes Penegem I. On this day, the high priest of Amun-Re, king of the gods, Penegem, son of the high priest Amun-Pionk, commanded the overseer of the great double treasury, Pei Neferher, to repeat the burial of the king Anen-Re, which would obviously be this guy, Tutmosis II. Thank you, Nile King. Let's look at this high-res photo. So yeah, here you can see that his nose was plugged and his ears were plugged. But his poor abdominal wall is all messed up. And yeah, he has damage to his face as well. He's got a skinny little waist though. His feet look okay, actually. They actually look pretty good. We got the face of him. He's got some good hair, so here you can see the little plugs in his ears and in his nose. But he does have some wrinkles. But it's hard to know how the skin really reacts with mummification stuff. Who knows if it just dries like that, because technically we have lots of skin in our face that when it dries it might just lie weirdly, even if it's not actually, he's not actually old and has wrinkles. Alrighty, let's talk about Hatshepsut, and we might end after this one. Because I'm running out of steam, but I think Hatshepsut's cool enough to talk about. So let's talk about Hatshepsut. So we have the mummy of Hatshepsut, and actually technically we can't talk about the mummy of Hatshepsut because she wasn't found in DB320. I forgot. Technically we can't talk about her because technically she wasn't found in DB320. I've never seen this photo before. Is that just her? That is crazy. All right, I promise we'll talk about Hatshepsut another day, but she is technically not found in DB320. The only thing that was found in DB320 was this box, if I remember correctly. Is that what it was? Is that this box was found? We talked about this briefly. Yeah, the funerary remains of Hatshepsut was all that was found. So, the big thing is that this mummy was found in KV60. They could not identify it as Hatshepsut because obviously it apparently was just found lying on the ground in this tomb. This is the craziest photo I've ever seen. I'm genuinely shooketh. I'm genuinely shooketh. I've never seen this photo before. This was in 1989. I'm gonna definitely have to do a video about this. But this box here was found in DB320. So there was a tooth found in this box, and it was a molar that was attributed to Hatshepsut because of the inscription on this box. It was inscribed for Hatshepsut. It contained the remains of a human liver and a molar that were then assumed to be of Hatshepsut's. So when they actually examined the KV60 mummy, they noticed that she was actually missing a molar. And then dental examinations revealed that the molar actually fits into the gap of her jaw. And then they confidently announced that this was a match and this was the mummy of Hatshepsut. People were pretty cautious and they were waiting for the DNA testing before accepting this identification. And I think it was then announced that the DNA did confirm that it is her. What is this article? The process of identification, can mummy KV60A be positively identified as Hatshepsut? I'm pretty sure it has been identified via DNA. Yeah, Addicted. So it nowadays all excavations in Egypt have to go through the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. You get like essentially a permit to be able to excavate at those places, and so they are always being notified. I don't know if currently there is a system where every time you find a tomb, you have to notify the ministry. I don't think that is probably the case because more often than not, the tombs are already looted or already empty. Back in the day, though, around the time, like, for example, if we talk about the tomb of Tutankhamun, you still had to have that permit. You were allowed to kind of do excavations, but if you found what you believed to be an intact tomb, you had to wait for an inspector to come to see you and to look at the site. And most tombs could not be opened until an inspector was on site. I don't really think that that's how it works now. You might need to get permission for a ministry person to be there, but I don't know how that works now. Most of the time you would continue on as you are, because they are proper excavations that are done via the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, or at least are co-done. So a lot of excavations nowadays, if it's done by I don't know, a British, some sort of British museum or some sort of British university or an American university, they're also usually working with actual Egyptians within the ministry or at a Egyptian university as well. I had to take this off. My head hurts. Ah! This is when I get that thing that just like molds into my forehead. But yeah, so most of the time they'll just go through normal archaeology procedures, because obviously other archaeologists find tombs that are similar, but not the same. All right, I think we are gonna end. How many do I have left? 1, 2, 3. All right, I think we're gonna end here. I just need to remember that we were on Tutmosis III.